Well, welcome everybody to Wild For Salmon, and our cooking demo today is going to be smoked salmon, and we're going to use wild Alaskan sockeye that we caught in Bristol Bay, Alaska. It's my favorite. It's got the absolute best color and the best taste from my perspective. And so we've got a couple different, basically just thinking that most people in central Pennsylvania, maybe we're new at it, maybe we're old hat, but we wanted to give a couple different ideas of how you can smoke, build your own little smoker. Sounds like most of you folks have their own smoker. So we've even brought the grill out and just took a little tin can and put some charcoal briquettes in it, and have been putting, just to show everybody that you can actually smoke on your own grill in your backyard and toy around with micro size batches. Courtney built this smokehouse just the other day. It's a smaller version of mine, and we've got a metal cook pan in there. My gloves. We've just got a cast iron pan, an electric coil in here that's just kind of smoking some chips that you get at the local store. So the small grill in there, the electric grill, will get the smoke effect for us. It won't get us enough heat in there to finish off the product. So if you're cold smoking, that would work. If not, you're going to need to kind of turn to I've got a pot over here that I put some briquettes in.
He asked a really good question.
Oh, sorry.
Asked if there was difference in flavor of charcoal or the wood. I said in this case we had just started the fire with the briquettes, the charcoal, and then you had added wood for flavor. So whatever wood you want to use, is that right?
Yeah, you will if you're just kind of putting briquettes in, you'll kind of get that flavor right out. But like, I just use it to get a base, and for the demo today, they're a little bit hotter. You would, because I'll smoke for 4, 5, 6 hours depending on how much and the temperature outside. So you just use that to get your base going. You could just do kindling and start your fire that way as well. Just kind of giving some ideas so that way people that are coming new to it kind of get the idea of how they can jump into it with some resources they have at home. So then we just add wet wood on there and let it smoke. So, and if I was trying to get more heat in there, I would just build a fire and monitor the fire to get the temperature that you want.
So the method right now is a cold smoke method?
We're going to, yeah, the method we're going to use today is cold smoking for the first 4 hours. So I hope you guys brought chairs, and then we're going to turn up the heat for the last 2 or 3 hours and take it up to the 120 to 130 degree mark. And that's what I really like with salmon, is to get into that range and not take it too far. You take it to 145, you're guaranteed to kill everything and bake the salmon. So what I don't like to do is take the temperature too hot, because it turns it more to a baked salmon. So I like to cold smoke it. That cold smoke allows more smoke saturation to go into your meat and penetrate. And then as your temperature comes up, it'll glaze over and less will get in, and it'll then kind of finish off as your temperature comes up, and kind of takes it from the uncooked stages to where it'll actually flake and be more like a cooked product that you would eat on your plate. And this recipe I've been using since I was a little kid, about probably their size. It was my father's, and I'd take squirrels and put them in there and put them in the smokehouse, and I'd put a squirrel in my pocket and walk around chewing on it. And so it's good for anything. It's really kind of a fun recipe. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just mix up the brine first. Things might not be exactly proportional. I think this is only half gallon, and the recipe calls for a gallon, but for all intents and purposes. So you just want to use tap water. So we put a gallon of water in. We'll then add a half a cup of just raw sugar. Sorry, that's what we just typically use, raw cane sugar, and then a half a cup of brown sugar. And I just mix them because it's a little bit more sweet. In the beginning I used mainly just cane sugar, but I've kind of added a little bit of brown sugar in there. So a half a cup of each adds the sweetness, and then 1 cup of the salt for the curing process.
So is that a curing salt, or is it a sea salt? Or...
Good question. We're just using a standard sea salt, and I just use the fine ground. I don't use the coarse ground because I think it obviously dissolves quicker. So that's pretty well dissolved. Just want to make sure it's dissolved. And if you wanted the presentation of a whole fillet for like Christmas dinner and you wanted to smoke it, you could use the same brine solution. You would just want to leave it in there for probably 2 hours versus the 1 hour. So for this particular recipe, what I like to do is cut these fillets in about, this is a little bigger fillet, so we cut it in 4 pieces. Thanks. And again, depending on what you want to do with your end product, you could take the pieces like they are, stick them in the brine and smoke them. Or if you're after kind of like a salmon candy or a salmon strip, then we take them and we just cut them into about a 1/2 inch strip. And sometimes you'll find a bone in there and you can just kind of use your knife and pluck him out. A good sharp knife is pretty important because otherwise it'll want to tear. Yeah, so whether I like the difference between a brine versus a dry rub, this is what I prefer, but I've done numerous dry rubs where they're almost the same recipe. Typically they'll have either the soy or the honey or the maple syrup, and then you just take that and you just lay it on there, and then you can wrap it in saran wrap and place it in the refrigerator. They typically are a longer brine, and that's probably why I lean to this, is because I'm pretty quick. So I like to kind of get it brined and get it in the smokehouse. Every year on the boat, we kind of take a fillet or 2 fillets when we get a nice stretch of weather and we think we're going to have sunshine for 3 days, and we'll fillet it, and then we'll take it and we'll just slice through it like this. And I've done this in my smokehouse as well. It's kind of a fun little eye-catching holiday treat, whatever. And then we put it in the brine for about the same amount of time. And then we just hang it from the mast for like 3, 4, 5, 6 days. And it just swings around and dries out to a really kind of fishy tasting candy, I guess. And you got to be half Norwegian to really appreciate it, but it's good. It is. Our 1 hour has been up in the brine solution, so then we'll just take the brine solution. I'm just gonna dump it out here. Yeah, so the species of wood that we like to use, thank you, Courtney, is, I prefer to use maple because it's kind of got the most mild taste, and it's in the alder family. So basically that's the Pacific Northwest wood that's been used to smoke salmon for 10,000 years. I'm a pretty traditionalist. I kind of like to be part of that whole culture. So I use maple most of the time. Today we're using black cherry. So I think any of the fruit woods are great. Maples, hickory will give you a darker, more richer yellow color and a stronger pronounced kind of taste. Just like when you have hickory smoked bacon, it's a bit more pronounced. And then I'll also use some sassafras, and I just got a couple little sassafras chunks out of the hedgerow this morning just to show that like all you need is a pair of nippers to make this whole operation work. You don't need a chainsaw or anything else. All right, so once it's drained, then I'll just add some more tap water to it just to kind of give it a quick rinse. Just going to keep it from having a chunk of salt laying on it that was in the bottom, or if the brine was a little too strong, it just kind of washes that top side off. Question for the audience. On your dry rubs, do you wash those off? Yeah. Okay. And then just pat it dry? Okay. Some olive oil, it's good to put on your racks just to keep everything from sticking. And it's great to have it on the skin side down, but if it has to lay over on the flesh, that's fine. All right, so you got your smoked salmon on the rack. Go back to your smokehouse. Got her smoking. She's gonna smoke for 4 or 5 hours, and you don't really have to be concerned about over smoking it, being like really precise on your timing. It just really depends on your finished product and the moisture content that you want in it. So you can, in these kind of temperatures, and this is what we kind of pick up from our native friends in Alaska, they'll like light the fire, go to work, come home, it's out, start it back up, and they'll leave it in there for a couple days. But they're trying to get more of a dried, candied salmon. So that's something that you guys can toy with as well, because the salt cure in it, if it's below like 60 degrees, it'll hold. So you don't have to really worry about it spoiling. And so you don't really have to monitor it on as far as like how long does it need to be in there. To me, it's all about look. You want to look at it, you want to start to see it get that golden color. And again, it'll take 6-7 hours. If you really put the smoke to it, it can be done in 4, and then you'll take your temperature, whatever means, whether it's adding more wood to get an actual hotter fire and build an actual little fire and not smoking to finish it off, and you get your temperature in the smokehouse around 120 to 130 for about an hour, and then that kind of brings it to a closure.
Is it possible to finish it on the grill?
You could do this and take it in and put it in your oven and take it to 130. You could put it on your grill and finish it. So there's lots of ways, and I think that was the biggest goal of today's kind of conversation, is to really kind of show people how versatile it is and how like not textbook it has to be. Well, thanks for coming. Weather was, but appreciate it.